Hey guys, welcome back to the Bookhaven with Rachel and Raven. I'm Rachel, this is Raven, and today we're going to give you our long-awaited March recap of what we read. And we just have to say that we have recorded this episode 2 previous times, so this is third time's the charm. So it should be nice and fun, and we should be very concise and to the point. So grab something yummy to drink and let's get going for the third time.
But will we be concise? Probably not.
I don't know.
Okay,
And I just realized that I left my tea in the kitchen.
Oh, that's
no.
kind of sad. Actually, mine is, I thought it was water. It's actually liquid IV.
Oh, surprise, surprise. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going to start first with what I've been reading, and then you can talk about all the things that you read in March.
Okay.
So the first one, I finished 2 series in March. The first one was the Brandon Sanderson Skyward series, and don't laugh at me.
It's so
I know it's hard because
we've done this a few times.
Anyways, okay. So
Okay.
I highly recommend this series. This is the novella book. I don't have the actual physical books. I listen to the audiobooks, which I highly recommend. They're exclusively on Audible, which is kind of a bummer, but they're well worth the credit. And I think I have already recruited 2 of our friends to read it with me.
Oh.
So that's exciting. Because
I'm not one of them.
No, Raven's never going to read these books. It's sci-fi, but kind of more in the line of like dystopia. It's not super sci-fi. Jackie, our friend who we've had on here, she actually just finished this book, the first one in the series, and she said that yes, she agrees with me. It's not so sci-fi that you're like, I don't know what's happening, anything like that. Really the sci-fi part is that it just takes place in space and in the future, but it has that very dystopian Hunger Games kind of thing going on. The main character is a girl, and she is not, for the majority of the series, is not super annoying. It is clean. I would totally hand this to my kids if they wanted to read it and not worry about anything like that. So, yay for good, clean series for kids. And it is considered a young adult, but I didn't find it too young adulty, if you know what I mean. Okay, and so the second series I finished is my good old Lockwood & Co. book. This is the last one, which is another YA series. This one is kind of like Ghostbusters, Stranger Things, kind of takes place in the 90s, but it's like an alternate world where there's ghosts and stuff like that. Very fun series. It can be creepy at times. So if you have a kid that's like super sensitive to that kind of, I don't know, getting scared easy. I was reading it sometimes at night and I'd be a little creeped out. So, but the characters are so, this is Jonathan Stroud. And I really want to read more of what he has written. He has kind of like darker themed books. Not darker themed as in like, what am I trying to say? More of like, the suspensey side of dark. So like ghost hunters, and yes, kind of that creepy, goosebumps
like a level
vibe.
Up Goosebumps.
Yes.
Yeah.
But these books are so funny. Like his writing is hysterical, and the banter back and forth between the characters is very, very like Gilmore Girl-esque. Like everybody's quick-witted and it's going. And it's just funny. Like I don't really care about the ghost aspects of this story, but the main story arc that follows through the whole thing is really interesting, and the characters are really, really endearing. So that's what made that series, like, that's why I stuck with it. There's also a Netflix series that came out. They're not making it anymore, but it covered the first 2 books. So if you kind of wanted to see if you were kind of interested, obviously the books are going to be better. But if you wanted to kind of dabble and see if you liked the idea of the show or of the book, you could go the easy route and watch the show first. I actually didn't know about the book series until after I had watched the show. I think it came out last summer. And I watched it with one of my kids, and then I was like, oh my goodness, there's a book series. And once I found out that they weren't going to make any more, I was like, oh, well, I really want to know what happened. So there's 5 books in that series. So even if you watch the show and it covers the first 2 books, there's still plenty more story left for you to enjoy via the books. So anyways, okay. And then this month we also finished our Sense and Sensibility book club. So if you haven't gone and watched that, you totally should. You can follow us along while you're reading and then read the chapters and then go back and watch them. All of the episodes, if you want to call it that we did, all the lives are on YouTube. So
there's a lot of fun little Easter egg things in there. So I would say the ring.
Oh, yes.
So if you haven't read it, you should go read it. And then, there's some fun discussions on some little.
Oh, for sure. There's some really weird discussions on all of that. And then another one that we finished was The Women, which we also did an episode on here about. And then A Gentleman in Moscow, which the episode of this one just came out a couple of weeks ago. So if you haven't read this, read it before you watch the show. Highly, highly recommend, because the book is obviously going to be way better. His writing is so beautiful. Like, I really was kind of unsure of how they were going to do it for the book, or for the show. I will say that because this episode is now coming out so late, I have watched the first episode of the show, and it's okay. There's some weird,
casting?
I don't know. Yes, I had already talked about how I thought it was kind of weird that Ewan McGregor was going to be this big Russian dude, because that's like kind of the opposite of what he looks like. But so far it's, I don't know. I think maybe people who hadn't read the book would totally be like, "Oh, this is a really good show." And I think it's getting like really good reviews. I just the characters look nothing like what I pictured in my head, which is fine, but so there's that. I think it's on, I can't remember what, I think it's on like Peacock or something, the show. So you have to get like the subscription to watch it. But if you haven't read that book, read that book. And then once you read the book, go and watch our episode of us talking about that book, because we both really, really enjoyed it. And there's so much in there to discuss. So, and then the last thing I'm going to say is the thing that I am loving is I found these cool tabs. I didn't find them. I saw them from somebody else on YouTube. But they are like, so I have my book here tabbed with all of my things. And it was really nice because I was using this as a bookmark to hold my place, because it's got this like a little ruler thing. But the tabs are right there when you're reading. And so, And so I'm not having to go track down a pen or a highlighter or something like that. Cause that's what I was doing in the beginning, was underlining, but I was like, I'm not gonna remember where that was. So anyways, tabs, I really liked them. I will be using them in the future. So there's that. Okay. So that's my long March ramblings.
Well, before we move on, 2 things.
Okay.
I got the tabs too. Okay. And a cool thing, y'all know I like these cool little like coincidences that happen or weird things that happen. So I got my tabs, and I'm reading this book again. It's a reread. I'm not. Anyways, it like matches. It's color coordinated, but look, there's more. Hang on, and it wasn't on purpose. I just pulled these out and then realized that they matched. This is another book that I'm reading, and
they match perfectly. That's so funny.
I didn't realize that until I pulled my bookmark out, and I was like, "Oh,
yeah."
So okay. Anyways, I probably later, but
no, I wasn't too sure about whether I was going to like it or not. So I only bought the pack that had like maybe 5 different color schemes on them. Okay. So how many did you buy? How many did your pack come with?
My pack came with, it was like $10 for, I think, a pack of 10, maybe.
Okay.
I think it's 10.
Yeah.
but
they're
there's like a
very,
lot on here.
yeah, they're very
Gosh,
cost effective, however you want to say it.
yeah.
And it gets like, I know that there are people that obviously are going to measure how, like, where to put the next little tab. And then some people color code it for like, this color is this character and this color. And I'm not doing all of that. I just went, what's the next one in the color series going down the line. But yeah, you can make it whatever you want to make it. So I'm glad you got them and linked them, because it is, it's been really fun for me. It's kind of learning a new skill. I've never bothered tabbing or anything like that. But since the podcast and we talk about books, and so I need to like go back and reference whatever it is, they have been very helpful. So
that's and like we can classify it as a business expense.
Sure. To offset all of the money we're making.
Yes, because that's what we're here for.
Anyways,
no, but okay. I really love it too, because it's not super bulky either. So
right.
You can see
there's
like I've got all these probably like hundreds of tabs here, and it's not super bulky. And it stays tucked in my book and doesn't fall out.
And I am always, we talked about this a long time ago on like what you use as a bookmark. And I am the person who will just grab whatever and throw it in the book. So this has really helped me not do that.
Break that habit.
Because I will say, it kind of gets me in trouble sometimes, because I'll put something in there that's like too big. Like I've even done the case of like my AirPods or something, and then it falls out and I'm like, that wasn't good. So yeah, this is cost effective. It's handy dandy, and it's manageable. So all important things from me.
All green flags. All green flags.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
It is my turn.
Yes.
I'm going to share what I have been reading. Well, what I read for March. So I read a book called Bad Therapy, which is a really great book. It's just a book about how, it's a book about bad therapy.
I also remembered that I finished that one. I finished that one at the very end of March. So yeah. Anyways, continue on.
So I think we're going to do an episode on it, but like that is a book that I finished, and we will talk about that. But it's a really great one. It's a really good, challenging book to make you think outside of just the norm of what our culture is constantly shoving down our throat. And so I would highly recommend that book. Then I also finished Sense and Sensibility. This is not Sense and Sensibility, but the book is in here. So I did finish that. And I finished Gentleman in Moscow as well, which we already talked about. So those are the ones that I have finished. So I didn't do a whole lot of reading in March. I say that. I still completed 3 books. But I did a lot of other exciting things. So, like we said, this is the 3rd time recording this. So,
3rd time's the charm.
3rd time. Are we still recording? Yes. Okay. So I did some other exciting things that I'm going to share with you guys. So kind of a life update from me, and just kind of what's been going on a little bit in my world. So the thing that I did was super exciting, and I didn't think that it would ever happen in my life. So I actually met my dad. That's what I did. I was almost 40 years old, and I've never met my dad. And so I met him. Okay. So something that a lot of people may not know about me is that I was adopted, and I had never met my dad. I knew that, I was told who my dad was, and that he was, not interested in knowing me and all of that. So I kind of grew up in this headspace of just a lot of feeling unwanted, and not understanding that, of why someone who had never met me wouldn't even be interested in meeting me. So that was kind of confusing. And then a few years later, because I was not adopted at birth, I think that's something that a lot of people assume when you say you're adopted. I was adopted when I was older, so about 8 years old, 8 or 9. So, I knew my birth mother. And so then you have the, like the thing that kind of creeps in is that, oh, so like this person knew me and then she couldn't get her life together to like want me. Like wouldn't, someone who birthed you want you and want to, anyways, like it's really complicated and confusing, but that's kind of where I was all growing up. And then when I was 18, kind of the lie that I believe was kind of confirmed because I went to go find said father, and it was told to me that he would never want to have anything to do with me, and that door was closed to me. I would never know. I would never know him, and so fast forward. After that, I just decided like that door was closed. I was never going to get those answers. I would never get family history, whatever. But I mean, I will say like that hurt kind of was always there. There's always that pain that is there. Even when I made a post about this, but like, even when you release something to the Lord, it doesn't mean that hurt isn't still there, if that makes sense. I just continued to trust him, that he had my life in his hands. And so anyways, fast forward to 2021, my husband gets me an Ancestry DNA kit and I take it. I kind of play around with it a little bit. Really just wanting to get family history, not necessarily find my father, because I knew he didn't want to have anything to do with me. Right. So I played around with that for a little bit and then, just kind of put it aside because honestly, when I got on there, it was really confusing and I couldn't really decipher. You couldn't determine like which side was paternal, which side was maternal. And so, and then the other contributing factor is I had found out that the father that I had gone to meet, he was adopted. So getting like medical history and stuff like that was virtually impossible. Another reason I was like, this is a closed chapter. So I kind of quit playing around with the Ancestry until last fall when my sister contacted me that she was going to get on there. Okay, so that'd be really cool. We'll see our match, And so I got back on there. Well, they had a new feature on there, or at least I had never seen it before, where you could separate out like paternal and maternal side, which became very interesting and fascinating to me because it just became very fascinating to me. And I saw these names that like I didn't recognize. So I had sent a few messages out to some higher matches that I had seen these names back in 2021. I don't know why. I just never reached out to them. But for some reason, I decided to just reach out and see. And I was very clear. I'm not looking for my father. Like I didn't want to stir anything up. That I was just trying to get, build my family tree and find history. So I reached out to 2 people and they responded back to me rather quickly. It was 2 cousins that they had been wondering who I was because I was showing up on their side, right? Like, who is this mystery girl from Texas? And so anyways, through that, I was able to find out that the person I thought was my father was not my father. And I was able to find out who my father was. Actually, it wasn't me. It was the cousin that kind of was the investigator. So shout out to her. And I get a message one day that says, I know who your dad is. Like, we contact me. She started sending me all this information. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Through that, he and I began communicating. He agreed to do a DNA test, paternity test.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we did that, and that matched up. And then we began communicating on the phone. And then just this past March, the weekend of the 14th, 15th, and 16th, my husband and I went up to Missouri and actually got to meet my dad, which was an incredible experience. And it was just all very positive. There was a lot of stress leading up to it. I was very, very nervous. Anybody who has kind of walked through anything like this, the risk. And I had done this before because I met my mother. And I knew the risk that I was taking, and I knew, it could go south. It could not be good. But it turned out to be very good. And it was a very healing experience for me. And I'm just very thankful for that, because it wasn't something I was really looking for. I wasn't, I had given that dream up of a long time ago. So I'm just thankful. I'm thankful that it went well. And I will be typing a lot to try to, get my story written out. It's the way I describe it, it's like a missing puzzle piece that was put into place, and it was like a key puzzle piece,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, that's how it feels. And yeah, so that's my story, people. I've told it like 3 times.
Yes.
But I'm still, just so you know, I know that this is y'all are probably like, there's no emotion or anything like that. There's a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
But I've shared this several times to the camera.
Yes.
And yeah, so I just, that's the story. That's my life update. So what am I loving? Okay. So one thing that I'm really loving is that because I'm not so stressed out and worried and anxious and everything, and I've been taking some special vitamins, my hair is growing back. So that's fabulous, because it was
pretty stressful, people. It was pretty stressful.
It was getting pretty thin.
Yeah.
It is pretty thin. But anyways, I am loving that. And then I'm also really loving this book TP that, and actually, I don't know if it's going to flip it around, but look how cute. This is from my dad. He made me a book TP. If you don't know what a book TP is, it sits on my nightstand and then marks my spot. And
so
then,
cool.
Looky here. And wait, there's more. There's more. I can tuck my phone in here.
That's all you need.
Over my glasses. Over my glasses.
Oh.
It's right here. Okay.
Your reading glasses.
My reading glasses, because I'm old now. Look at my shirt.
Nice.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm glad
Who
you showed it to me
forgot
because
to wear it on her birthday?
Oh.
This girl.
I'm glad you showed it to me though, because I almost bought you that shirt. So for your birthday. So I'm glad you let me know that you already have it.
We could buy matching shirts, but I'm older than you, so
yeah,
just can't.
I get to wear it next year.
Well, I'll pass it down to you.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Listen,
Math. No. Anyways, well, that is super exciting about your dad. And yes, there was a lot of people that were praying for you and kind of walking along this journey. I know I, for one, was glad when it was accomplished. I don't want to say finished and all that stuff, but the kind of anxiety leading up to it was a lot. And I was just a bystander, so I can only imagine what you actually felt doing that. But what an extreme praise that not that
Mm-hmm.
it's a happy
Yeah.
ending, but that, you got a positive feedback. Because I think you had said before that, like, not everybody gets that same
Right.
ending.
Yeah. I think that part is kind of hard for me, because sharing my story and knowing that not everybody gets that type of ending. Like, I knew that was a possibility. And that part makes me sad, because not everybody gets that. And there, obviously, in other areas of my life, I haven't gotten that. And so, yeah, I'm very aware that that is not everybody's story. I was completely not expecting this to be my story. Um, but I will say that I think it goes back to the fact that God knows our hearts. He knows the perfect timing for things. He knows what to withhold from us, because it's not the right timing, or maybe it's just not ever the right thing for us. And I think that's the hard part about trusting him, is we want what we want, right? Or I don't know. I guess I would just encourage to not lose hope, but also just to keep trusting God for what he has and what maybe he doesn't have for us. So that would be my encouragement on that part. And also
Yeah.
that it's just not lost on me that not all stories end this way. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I've watched a lot of adoption stories and a reunification with birth parents. Like, I know, yeah, I've seen a lot of those things and experienced it. So,
Yeah. And
yeah,
I think too,
that's
like, we have talked about how, like, the timing of everything, because you said, like 2021 and just like other stuff that's been going on in your life, and for it to happen at this moment in time, like, God knew, like, this is the moment
mhm,
that it's going to, like, be good and work out, and
right.
and all of the other things. So I think it's a good reminder of how, like, we pray for things and we want things to happen, but God sees the whole picture, whereas we're just looking at, what we
Yeah,
can actually see. And he's looking at the big overarching story. So, yeah.
yeah. And I think that's so encouraging when we can, when whatever circumstance it is, we can look back and we can see, oh, you know,
Yeah.
he really did have me. He really
Yeah.
did know what was best.
Yeah.
And so it's faith building as well for
Yeah.
me.
And I
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing your story with everybody, because I think too, it's such a redemptive story. It's such a good faith story of, like, not holding hope, but you know what I mean? Like, just kind of, like you said, just keep trusting that the Lord is giving and not giving, because
Hmm.
he knows what's best. And sometimes
Yeah.
that hurts. But I think as Christians, this is a side tangent, but I think as Christians, sometimes we are prompted to, like, be like, oh, well, it's okay, because it, like, God's got it or whatever. But like you said, that doesn't change the hurt that's still there. All of those, like, we're human, we have all of these emotions. And so I think it's a good reminder, and I appreciate you being honest about that, because I think a lot of times people would just, like, oh, this is the happy ending kind of thing. But and I know, being your friend from before and now going through all of this with you, like, it has been a very, very hard, trying time, that this
Hmm.
wasn't, like, just a happy, like, woohoo. I mean, this is years and years of hard hurt and struggles. And
Yeah.
so, yeah. Um, so yes, we celebrate that this is the ending, that, you know, that God gave you now, and the timing of all of that. Um,
I think also, I think for a long time when I was little, I thought that because that there must be something wrong with me, or God is punishing me. And I think a lot of people do view, some big unanswered prayers as, like, I mean, at least for me, um, like it's some kind of punishment on you,
mhm.
or that maybe if I was just better, maybe this or that or whatever. I think learning through that, just to trust him, And it's for our good. So it's not that he's withholding things from us,
Yeah.
or allowing things even because he's some kind of like God up there that's like throwing darts at us
Yeah.
because I don't know, we didn't read our Bible this week or
Yeah.
whatever. And that literally was my thought process, on things, not just this situation, but like on things when I was little. Yeah, just trying to be better, do more kind of mentality. Then maybe God would answer my prayers. But I don't, this isn't a prayer that I think it was on my heart. I think it was in my heart because I think, I don't know, I think God put it there, honestly. But in this specific situation, it wasn't like I was praying and interceding
Yeah.
for this thing. I wasn't working so hard to make this thing happen.
Yeah.
So I think that goes back to, just trusting God. And I mean, working so hard to make something happen that is outside of what is best for you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or am I just
No,
doing the
that makes
circle?
No, that's good.
So, hey guys, thanks for joining us today on this episode. Thanks for just catching up on our monthly reads and just life updates and all of the things. We're so glad you're here. We would appreciate it if you did enjoy this episode, that you would give a comment, give a review, give a thumbs up, turn on the bell, whatever the options are.
Yeah.
And we will catch you guys on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
You have like Bonhoeffer's head sitting
I
over
know.
your shoulder, and it's kind of creepy. I was going to talk about it earlier and I got sidetracked.